Hi, everyone. I'm here with Cheryl Fidelman, and today we're talking about codependency as a survival skill. Amazing topic. Thank you so much for joining us today, Cheryl.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm so passionate about talking about this and infusing the healing of codependency into the human condition. Like I'm out to normalize it because I think it's so normal and common. So thanks
Yes.
for having me.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I know so many people watching are going to resonate with this. And so tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into the questions. Just briefly, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? Just in case anyone here hasn't come across you yet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to answer the question, who am I, would be to know that answer. I'm still trying to
Mhm.
discover it. But so,
Yeah.
well, listen, my mission, purpose, and passion is to support, help, facilitate people to get back into their bodies and have a deep, safe, non-negotiable, trusting relationship with themselves. Because I truly believe that your relationship with yourself is reflected in all of your relationships. So
Yeah.
if there's a disconnect in a relationship with another person, likely the source of that is a disconnection in your relationship with yourself. That's not to say everything's your fault. That's not what I'm saying. But in codependency, we point the finger outward. They're bossy, they're controlling, they're mad at me. This is what they did 5 years ago, and they're going to do it again now because I'm past tripping, I have evidence from the past, and now I'm future tripping, I'm putting in the future. And so codependency is the opposite of presence.
Hmm.
Codependency is in our cognition, it's in our mind. It's mainly a cognitive habit that then freezes us from being in our body around people. So my work is about helping you surrender into your body because for a lot of us, we were blocked out of surrendering to our body for one traumatic event or series of traumatic events, or maybe just over time, your parents did not nurture your inner world, so you didn't know how to nurture your inner world. So the process that I've developed that I've been bringing people to, have been coaching for 20 years, is a somatic experiencing process where I help you stay in your lane when you're in relationship. Stay in your body when you're in relationship with another person, because codependency has you leave yourself in order to survive or handle the relationship, which is what happens when we've had some sort of narcissistic parent or mother. You had to leave your body to handle their reality. You had to leave your
Hmm.
body to anticipate their reality, to anticipate their mood. You had to leave your body to suss out what their mood is to then find how you're going to be.
Yeah.
So I help you bring your reality into the first position. Let me find out how I feel and what's happening with me. And then once I know what's happening over here, then I'll come into the interaction versus I'm looking outside of myself to find my own reality.
Yeah.
So
That's so
my
important.
answer
It's
to
so
who I am and what
foundational.
do I do.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's really important work. And so, how does codependency form as a survival strategy? How does that happen?
So yeah, totally. So codependency, we learn to survive by setting ourselves aside because, especially on theme with this series, if you've had a mother, when we use this word narcissistic, there's two ways in which I use the word to mean. Number one, it means somebody else's reality is the only reality in the room. Like you can't have a point of view, you can't have a feeling because their reality and their feelings and their interpretation of what's happening is the realest thing in the room. So that's something I would call in my work, okay, that's narcissistic. Another way that I use the word narcissistic was if you had a mother who, if you had a feeling, she would go, that feeling's not accurate. You can't
Mhm.
have that feeling. I
Yeah.
didn't make feel that way. So then we start to go, our relationship to our feelings is so distorted. Am I making this up? Is this feeling an accurate response to the stimulus? Like, you just yelled at me, now I'm scared. Shouldn't I feel that way? Or am I
Mhm.
not supposed to feel that way? So we set our reality aside because of this word narcissistic, because their reality is bigger than ours, and the only reality that seems that is dominating the space. I also use the word as a way in which our experience was just negated.
Yes.
So we survive by going, number one, I'm fine. I'm okay. Nothing's wrong. What's happening with you? That's more important. So we're surviving by setting our reality aside. And what is that? Agreeing when we don't agree, giving beyond our tank, pleasing, calming them down, anticipating what's happening for them, reorienting ourselves to what we're projecting. Well, I know they're mad at me because I can tell their mood and I can tell their facial expression. So now I'm going to handle what I'm projecting over there in their world. And
Yeah.
so we're not even in our own body. We're just in reaction to our projection of what's happening for the other person. Why? Because when you were a kid, you had to anticipate their mood.
Mhm.
You had to project into their world. Like, for example, with my mom, I was always reading her facial expressions. If she had a
Yes.
certain thing she did with her lip or her eyes, okay, I know what that means. Okay, I know what that means. Okay, I know what that means. So I am constantly orienting to reading her world. And that's where we get confused between what empathetic empathy is and codependent empathy.
Right.
A lot of us codependents are like, well, I'm so empathetic. So I feel their feelings and I can read their energy. Well, that might be true, but it also might be true that what you're talking about is a gift that was given by your trauma. Are you having a trauma response, or is this a real spiritual gift of empathy that you've been given? So you might be able to read their feelings and have a compassionate, empathetic reaction, which would be empathetic empathy. Codependent empathy is I feel all of that, and now I have a job to do.
Right.
I feel you're sad. I know you're angry. Now I have to calm you down. Now I have to take responsibility for it. Now I have to feel guilt and shame for it. Now I have to handle your reality, right? So
Right.
some of us have some deep spiritual gifts, but when there's a whole bunch of codependence laid on top of them, we cannot fully surrender to our own relationship with spirit, because in codependency we're in relationship to their reality as opposed to our reality and our spiritual reality. So a lot of this work too is also expedites one's spiritual evolution when we release other people as the directors of our reality.
Yeah. Yes. And I really like how you make the distinction between empathetic empathy and codependent empathy.
Yeah,
That's such an important distinction. And I don't think I've heard it described that way. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
great. Yeah,
And
you're welcome.
so another really big point here is why and how does codependency transfer from the mother wound to our adult relationships? That's a really big one for, I'm sure, almost everyone watching today.
Mhm. The first place I want to go with that answer is oftentimes people say, like, oh, I married my father or I married my mother. And I like to reframe that and say, no, it was you as your father's daughter that got married. It was you as your mother's daughter that got married, or son. And so what I mean by that is in codependency, you were constantly pointing outwards. Oh, they're like my father, they're like my mother, they are. And so I always change the camera angle to ourselves. For example, I was always saying that I kept dating my mother in male form. Like every relationship I had, they were just like my mother. They were just like my mother. But to reframe it and say, I was my mother's daughter in that relationship. I was handling their reality. I was constantly calming them down. I was constantly proving my innocence. I was constantly um, doing everything, cooking the thing the exact right way that they like it, right? Or
Right.
betting their energy, like, oh, he just put the plate down really hard. Does he mean something like by I remember vividly, I was dating a guy who served me dinner and put the plate down really hard. And I was
Mhm.
just, he's mad at me. He's this, he's that, he's that. I mean, I just was
Right.
so sensitive to everything because I was being my mother's daughter.
Mhm.
And so when you have the narcissistic mother wound, well, we're all developing a traumatic identity, what I call the traumatic identity, the identity that developed in reaction to your parents' or guardians' reality. Some people call it your inner child. I call it your default or your traumatic identity. So now that identity that was created in reaction to them, you're now being that identity as a grown up in your relationships. So, what was a survival technique and an adaptive identity development when you were a kid now becomes your adult codependency.
Yes.
So you're being that younger version of yourself in your adult life, in your relationships, especially romantic relationships.
Yeah.
Um, Whoever, whatever power that be that designed the human condition, whoever they are, made it so that romantic relationships bring our nervous system back to an unhealed, traumatic, protective place. Like we regress when it comes to romance. And if we don't go into a relationship going, this is a healing contract, if we're romantically involved, there's going to be destruction and healing, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction. And if we are not studying that, then it's just going to become destructive, 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 destructive. So
Right.
I try to infuse my clients with, if you're dating, if you're married, if you're in a partnership, you have to include that it's a healing process that you're in a, and if you don't have that agreement with the other person, at least have it with yourself.
Mhm.
I'm going on a date, I'm going to have sex with somebody, I'm going to marry somebody. What's the lesson? What's the lesson? What's the lesson? Right? Doesn't
Mhm.
mean you can't have joy. I want you to have tons of joy and passion. But there's also going to be another side of it where it's going to point to your younger self. It just
Mhm.
it just does.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And if we can look at our relationships as a learning ground or a place where we can grow and get these incredible lessons, even when things don't seem like they're working out the way they should, I think that that is just going to help us so much.
Yes, yes. Oh, totally. And also to answer that question, there's 52 distinctions of the conscious codependence process, which is this process that I bring people through that I've developed to heal codependency. One of the distinctions is what I call bond trauma, which is different than trauma bonding, which is a real thing, but bond trauma, especially with this narcissistic mother wound, your nervous system has a distorted relationship with bonding. And when you have a wound with the mother, who ideally in a relatively healthy situation is giving you the nurturing where your nervous system is able to surrender and have basic trust in life. Surrender, basic trust, then the father handles the safety and the holding environment. So now you're surrendered, the father provides the container and the direction. This is like general broad strokes for the maternal and what the paternal provide. So
Mhm.
when you don't have that nurturing from the mother, number one, the nurturing provides, she sees your inner world. Now you're able to see your own inner world and surrender. If she is not seeing your inner world, number one, because she's probably not seeing hers, so if she's a disembodied woman, then we become disembodied female because our nervous system is mimicking the frequency of her nervous system. So, and if we don't have that nurturing, then we're not able to surrender. So we don't know what a bond is. So I was in all those chaotic relationships because I already came in not having surrender in my nervous system. I
Mm.
already came in not knowing how to surrender and trust in a bond. So I'm going to keep recreating a bond where that I'm not surrendered to. I want
Right.
to, I'm desiring it, I'm blaming them because I can't relax here, right? But I don't know
Yeah.
what relax is. I don't know what
Yeah.
peace and harmony in my nervous system is. I only know how to blame the other person for it. I only know how to long for it. I only know how to desire it. I only know how to feel unworthy of it.
Mhm.
I didn't actually know how to bond with myself in a safety and surrendered place and then bring that bond to another person. I do now because of the 35 years of work that I've done on because I started my
Right.
codependency recovery when I was 14, but took a long time. So that's a huge part of the somatic process of my work is I train your nervous system to surrender to a safe bond within yourself because that's a huge
Mhm.
part of this narcissistic mother wound piece.
Mhm. Yes, it really is. Feeling safe in your own body is definitely foundational to having healthy relationships.
Yeah, and that
And
anchor to safety is within you. In codependency, the anchor to safety is external.
right, exactly. And so you talk about the three codes. Can you tell us about those?
Yes. So the three codes to clear codependency is the foundational framework of the process. And when people go to my website, put your email address in, and you'll get the PDF that breaks down the common developmental roots and behavioral patterns of each code. So the codes are the want to be wanted, the need to be needed, and the need to prove oneself. So when
Mhm.
you're operating for one or more of these three codes, you'll know, oh, okay, I'm in a codependent moment. Because I wanted to give people a reference point, because a lot of people are like, is this codependent behavior? Is that codependent behavior? Well, the want to be wanted is rooted in your sense of belonging because a lot of our codependency is rooted in a sense and feeling of not belonging. So we're trying to belong by wearing a codependent mask, agreeing when we don't agree, trying to gain a sense of belonging by wondering what's happening with them and vetting their mood because we're trying to grasp a sense of belonging, which is totally innate and biological um, for us to want to belong to a person or a tribe. Um, the need to be needed is rooted in your sense of safety. We talked about safety. The need to prove oneself is rooted in your sense of proving your identity. Like I was constantly trying to prove that I was like the cool girl and nothing bothered me. I was constantly trying to
Right.
prove that identity, but that wasn't really me. That wasn't my true self, but that was my mother's daughter. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. I'll just handle you.
Mhm.
And which was why I was able to be around like so much chaos with the guys that I was dating. Like I look back and I'm like, can't believe how much just wild stuff was happening because my traumatic identity was the calm in somebody else's storm. And the kind of the conscious codependence process, we get really, really, really clear on the thoughts, interpretations, projections, emotions, sensations of your traumatic identity versus your true self and your true nature. So that you're not living as your traumatic identity anymore. You're not believing the thoughts of your traumatic identity. You're not believing the emotions of your traumatic identity and the
Mhm.
reality that traumatic identity keeps recreating.
Right.
Did I answer it? I think I
Yeah, I think you
did.
did. The three codes, definitely. That's super helpful. And so, how is healing codependency the key to our personal evolution?
Great question. Codependency is an arrested development state. Okay. You're in a younger version of yourself in your relationships. When you heal your codependency, which is your traumatic identity, when you heal your codependency, you're able to be at your current state of wisdom, at your current state of development. You're able in your relationships, and you're also able to transform even faster. I have this idea, which is not scientifically proven, it's just my theory, that when we're babies, we evolve so fast. You see, like a newborn baby to a year old, massive evolution. Or a
Yes.
year old to 5 years old to 10 years old to 20 years old. You don't look the same. You're not acting the same. Your hormones are, I mean, it's like the amount of evolution is so apparent. And then at some point, we stop evolving because we get trapped in a younger identity.
Mhm.
I truly believe that when we release our traumatic identity, you can evolve at the rate you evolved from like baby to one. Like, we don't have to
Wow.
lose that level of transformation and evolution and growth. We don't have to lose
Hmm.
that. But codependence stunts that. I've worked with so many people who are like, I've been married for 20 years and that's not, I wasn't even me in that marriage.
Right.
I don't think I evolved from the day I got married. Who was I? They start popping out and go, oh my gosh, it's time for me to now live and evolve now because I stopped for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Because you get trapped recreating a younger reality that doesn't have you move.
Mhm. Yeah, that's very exciting, actually, to think about the fact that we can, once we start to heal this codependency, we can get back to what we're supposed to be doing, which is evolving and
Get
growing
back to
instead
what
of
we're supposed to be doing. That
stagnating
is such a
or
great way
even
to put it.
regressing.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's super exciting. And that means that anybody, no matter what age they're starting, has a lot to look forward to.
I'm so moved by that. It's a great way to put it.
Mhm.
We get back to what we're
Yeah,
supposed to be doing.
yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been a really, really enlightening conversation. I so appreciate it. And if anyone wants to get the PDF that you mentioned, I will link to it below. And as we wrap up, do you have any last words you want to impart before we say goodbye?
Yeah, so when you get your PDF, um, you'll be on my email list, and I do two free workshops a month with the Conscious Codependence community. I make videos and audios, so I send out lots of free resources. You'll also get funneled to my calendar link if you choose. I do a complimentary codependency reading. And so in that reading, we do a deep dive into how your particular traumatic identity is formed and how you uniquely leave yourself in relationships, or maybe it's just that one relationship. I call it your magnet. For some of us, it's like you're doing great at work, you totally feel like embodied in your true self, but then you go home and you regress, or it could be the other way around. Sometimes it's that one person that just magnifies you, that relationship magnifies you out of yourself. Um,
Mhm.
and for some of us, it's everyone. Like I used to like not be in my body in any of my relationships. So yeah, get your PDF, schedule your codependency reading if you feel called to. And I truly believe that it is your relationship with yourself that is the number one most important relationship. The depths
Yeah.
to which you know yourself, trust yourself, feel safe within yourself, and have the freedom to speak and take up space. All of that is reflected in your relationships and in the people that you magnetize into your life and in the relationships that you co-create. Because codependency tells us, I'm not co-creating this. Like, I'm just at the whim of this other person. We're
Right.
co-creating everything, even your relationship with spirit, even your relationship with your talents, gifts, and passions. It's all a co-creation. And I want to put you
Mhm.
in the driver's seat of all of your co-creations.
Yeah, that's so beautifully empowering. Thank you very much for sharing that. And it's been a pleasure having you. Thanks for
Thank
being here.
you. Thank you, Laura. So great to be with you again. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening.